Welcome to Notebook Nuggets. Today, we're diving deep into the crucial topic of sleep, drawing essential insights from Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep. You mentioned wanting to grasp important subjects quickly and thoroughly, really getting to the core without feeling overwhelmed. This deep dive is designed precisely for that time, the key nuggets explaining why sleep is far more critical than many realize. We'll explore the science behind it, uncover surprising consequences of not getting enough, and highlight what truly matters for your daily life. Think of this as your shortcut to understanding this vital pillar of your well-being.
And what's immediately striking from the book is the truly alarming shift in our sleep habits. It's quite stark, actually. Just a century ago, fewer than 2% of Americans slept 6 hours or less nightly. I mean, think about that.
Wow, only 2%.
Yeah. Now, that figure is over 65% of adults. 65%.
That's a huge jump.
It really is. And the concerning part is that many in this group, they don't even recognize they're consistently falling short. Short of the recommended 7 to 9 hours their bodies and minds actually require.
Okay. Let's unpack this core idea then. Walker argues that prioritizing sleep is the most potent, yet often overlooked, performance enhancer and disease preventer available to us. Think of it almost like a free upgrade for both your brain and your body. It's quite compelling.
Absolutely.
The book lays out an impressive array of benefits from a potentially longer life and boosts in memory and creativity. To even impacting how attractive we're perceived, aiding in weight management, reducing those pesky food cravings.
Yeah, the cravings thing is interesting.
And offering protection against serious conditions like cancer and dementia. It even strengthens your immune defenses, lowers the chances of heart attacks, strokes, and diabetes, and elevates your mood.
It's a pretty comprehensive list, isn't it?
It really is. And all supported by, well, a substantial body of scientific research, apparently.
Yeah.
Thousands of studies.
Expanding on that, the book makes it clear that consistently getting insufficient sleep, defined as less than that crucial 7 to 9 hour window, has consequences that go far beyond just feeling a bit tired.
Right. It's not just about yawning at your desk.
Exactly. We're talking about tangible harm to your immune system.
Yeah.
Potentially doubling your risk of developing cancer.
Doubling. That's a heavy statistic. And this is where it becomes particularly impactful, I think. It's not just about internal health. Skimping on sleep profoundly affects our physical abilities, too.
That's right.
The book points to a 10 to 30% reduction in the time it takes to reach physical exhaustion and a significant dip in aerobic output.
So your workouts suffer, basically.
Yeah. But what's really eye-opening is the connection to accidents. Walker highlights that getting less than 5 hours of sleep can skyrocket your risk of a car crash by a staggering 300%.
300%. Just from losing a few hours.
And drop that to under 4 hours, and the risk jumps to an unbelievable 1,150%.
Whoa.
It truly reframes how we should think about drowsy driving, suggesting it's every bit as dangerous as driving under the influence of alcohol.
Which is something most people wouldn't dream of doing, right? But they'll drive tired. And this raises a crucial point about our modern tendency to just, push through when we're tired. Coffee, willpower.
Right. Powering through.
The book emphasizes that there's simply no scientific evidence to back up the idea that devices, medications, or even sheer willpower can effectively compensate for consistently inadequate sleep. Our biology demands that restorative period, and there are no real shortcuts. It just doesn't work that way.
So let's get into this concept of sleep debt. Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. It's essentially the running tally of the sleep you've missed compared to what your body actually needs.
Okay.
So if you need 8 hours, like most adults, and you only get 7, well, you accrue an hour of sleep debt for that night.
And the key insight here, according to the book, is that unlike a bank account, you can't just cram in extra sleep on weekends to erase your sleep debt from the week, right?
That's exactly it. Consistency is paramount. You can't really bank sleep or repay the debt unevenly.
So sleeping in on Saturday doesn't fix Tuesday's short night.
Not fully, no. The book underscores that after just 10 consecutive nights of sleeping, 1 hour less than your required amount, say 7 hours when you need 8.
Which sounds pretty common for a lot of people.
Very common. Well, after just 10 days of that, your brain function becomes as impaired as if you had been awake for a full 24 hours.
24 hours straight awake, that's pretty sobering.
It really is. When you consider how many of us routinely shave an hour off our sleep, thinking it's no big deal.
Now, the book mentions that there are tools available to help us track this. Apparently, apps like Rise can monitor your sleep patterns.
Yeah, there are several tools out there that can track sleep and even factor in things like light exposure to predict your energy levels throughout the day.
Okay, so they can tell you when you'll be sharp and when you might hit a slump.
Pretty much. They can help identify those peak performance times, the afternoon dips that might be good for, say, emails, or maybe even a brief nap. and crucially, the optimal window to start winding down for bed. Some even try to suggest your ideal bedtime based on your body's natural melatonin production rhythms.
Interesting tech.
What's also fascinating is the direct link the book establishes between sleep and our emotional landscape, our feelings, our moods.
How so?
Well, it cites a study showing a significant 60% surge in the amygdala's activity. That's the emotional center of your brain, often involved in fear and anxiety.
Okay, the amygdala.
A 60% increase in its response in individuals who are sleep deprived.
60% more reactive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This really emphasizes how vital sleep is for maintaining emotional equilibrium and regulating our reactions. We literally become more emotionally volatile without enough sleep.
And it's not just about our mood, right? Sleep is a cornerstone of how we learn and remember things, too.
Oh, absolutely critical. The book stresses that sleep is crucial both before we attempt to learn something new.
To prepare the brain.
Yeah, to prepare the brain to absorb information, like making space on a hard drive. And then it's crucial afterward to actually consolidate and save those memories.
So sleep helps embed the learning.
Precisely. The research highlighted in the book is quite definitive. For instance, pulling an all-nighter. Forget about it.
Yeah, how bad is it?
It results in a dramatic 40% deficit in the brain's capacity to form new memories. 40%.
Oh, no. As the book points out, that could easily be the deciding factor between academic success and failure. Passing or failing an exam.
Absolutely.
That's a massive impact. And apparently during those deeper stages of sleep, our brains experience these bursts of electrical activity called sleep spindles.
Right, sleep spindles. They're like little bursts of activity you can see on an EEG.
The book describes these almost like a high-speed internet connection within your brain, actively filing away your memories from short-term storage, the hippocampus, I think.
Yeah, that's the area.
To the more permanent long-term storage in the cortex. This protects them from being forgotten and clears space for new learning the next day. It's like housekeeping for the brain.
It's a really elegant system. And connecting this to the realm of creativity, the book presents some compelling findings there too.
Creativity. How does sleep affect that?
Well, one study revealed a remarkable 300% increase in creative insight. You know, those aha moments in individuals who had enjoyed a full night of sleep compared to those who were sleep deprived.
300%, that's astonishing.
It is. Good sleep seems to allow the brain to make novel connections it wouldn't otherwise make.
And it seems throughout history, highly creative individuals like Thomas Edison, Salvador Dali, Albert Einstein, they even experimented with techniques involving short naps, didn't they? Trying to tap into that state.
Exactly. That sort of hypnagogic state between wake and sleep seems fertile ground for ideas. Edison supposedly napped holding ball bearings.
Right, so they'd drop when he fell asleep properly.
This naturally leads to the big question. Why do we even need to sleep in the first place? What's the fundamental reason?
Yeah, what does the book say?
Well, it acknowledges that while the precise single reason is still being investigated, there isn't one simple answer. Yet, it's abundantly clear that every major organ, every physiological system in our body benefits profoundly from sleep. It's enhanced by sleep.
It's not just the brain, then. It's everything.
Everything.
One intriguing idea Walker touches upon is that sleep might actually be our baseline, our default state, and wakefulness somehow evolved from it.
That's a fascinating perspective, isn't it? Flips the usual thinking.
It really makes you think about our natural state.
And what's particularly interesting is the comparison the book draws between human sleep and that of other primates.
Like apes and monkeys.
Yeah. Well, primates tend to sleep for longer durations overall, maybe 10 to 15 hours.
That sounds nice.
Doesn't it? But humans average about 7 to 9 hours. Yet we have a significantly higher proportion of REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep.
Okay. REM. How much higher?
About 20–25% of our sleep is REM, compared to just 9% or so in other primates. And the book proposes that this increased REM sleep is critical for our higher level cognitive functions.
Like what?
Like rationality, complex memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and creative thinking. Things that arguably make us human.
So less sleep overall, but more of maybe the mentally intensive kind.
That seems to be the idea. Circling back to our evolutionary history, the book suggests that early humans, like Homo erectus, who likely slept on the ground.
More vulnerable, I guess.
Exactly, more vulnerable. They may have developed more efficient and intense sleep patterns, possibly with that richer REM sleep, partly as a survival mechanism, left time unconscious, but making that time count more.
Fascinating evolutionary angle.
Yeah.
Let's discuss some of the common culprits that can sabotage a good night's sleep. The things we do that mess it up.
Right. The book provides a pretty comprehensive overview. It starts with things like exercising too close to bedtime.
Why is that bad?
Because intense exercise raises your core body temperature, and ideally your body temperature needs to drop slightly to initiate sleep. So Exercising late can interfere with that cooling process.
Okay, that makes sense. And then we have the well-known stimulants, caffeine and nicotine.
Oh, these ones, yeah. Caffeine can stay in your system for hours.
And what about alcohol? Some people think a nightcap helps them sleep.
Ah, the nightcap myth. The book clarifies that while alcohol might make you feel drowsy and fall asleep faster initially.
It sedates you, basically.
Right, but it actually fragments your sleep later in the night. It particularly expresses REM sleep, which we just discussed as vital. So the sleep you get is not restorative.
So it knocks you out but doesn't let you rest properly.
Precisely. Other factors that can interfere include consuming large meals and excessive fluids too close to bedtime.
Heartburn, getting up to pee.
Exactly. Certain medications can also have sleep-disrupting side effects, so that's worth checking. And taking naps too late in the day, generally after 3 p.m., can make it harder to fall asleep at night.
The book also emphasizes the importance of establishing a relaxing bedtime routine, doesn't it? Winding down.
Definitely. And minimizing exposure to artificial light, particularly the blue light emitted from our phones, tablets, computers.
The dreaded blue light.
It suppresses melatonin production, the hormone that signals time for sleep to your brain. Ensuring a comfortable, cool, and dark bedroom temperature is also key.
Cool, dark, and quiet seems to be the mantra.
It is. Interestingly, even not getting enough natural sunlight during the day, the book suggests around 30 minutes of exposure.
Morning sunlight, especially.
Yeah, ideally. That helps anchor your body's natural sleep-wake cycle, your circadian rhythm. Without that daytime signal, the nighttime signal gets weaker.
And what about just lying in bed awake, tossing and turning?
That's counterproductive. It can create a negative association where your brain links your bed with frustration and wakefulness, not sleep. The advice is often to get up for a bit if you can't sleep.
And the book also touches on the societal pressures, right? Enforced early awakenings, the tyranny of the alarm clock.
Yes. Our modern schedules often clash with our biological needs for sleep. The alarm clock is described as essentially an insult to our biology.
So, given all these influencing factors, how much sleep do we truly need? What's the magic number?
Well, the general consensus, according to the book and most sleep science, is a sleep opportunity of 7 to 9 hours per night for adults.
Sleep opportunity meaning time in bed.
Exactly. Allowing yourself that window. While individual needs can vary slightly, consistently falling below that 7-hour mark is where we start to see those significant negative consequences we've been discussing.
Okay. And is there such a thing as too much sleep?
It's less studied, but some research suggests that regularly sleeping significantly more than 9 hours might also be associated with certain health risks, although the reasons aren't as clear. But the overwhelming problem in society is too little sleep, not too much.
Right. Now, what about sleeping pills? A lot of people rely on them.
This is a really critical point in the book. It argues strongly that sleeping pills don't induce natural restorative sleep.
They don't. How do they work then?
They primarily function as sedatives. They essentially knock out your higher brain regions, the cortex, rather than facilitating the complex natural cycles of sleep stages.
So it's more like sedation than actual sleep.
That's the argument. And they come with a range of potential downsides.
Such as
Things like daytime grogginess, forgetfulness, sometimes even performing actions while not fully conscious, like sleepwalking or eating.
Oh, wow.
Delayed reaction times the next day, and that persistent grogginess. This can unfortunately lead to a cycle. You feel groggy, so you drink more caffeine.
Which then makes it harder to sleep the next night.
Exactly. The book also highlights the possibility of rebound insomnia when you stop taking these medications. Your sleep can become even worse than it was initially.
Yeah, it sounds rough.
And perhaps most alarmingly, some large-scale epidemiological studies have linked sleeping pill use to a significantly increased risk of mortality and certain cancers.
Really? That's serious.
Yes. The book urges extreme caution and suggests they should be a last resort, if used at all, and only short-term.
This leads us to the topic of insomnia itself. How does the book define that?
It defines insomnia pretty clearly as the persistent inability to fall asleep or stay asleep despite having adequate opportunity to do so. It's not just one bad night, it's a pattern.
And what causes it?
Well, I point out that common underlying causes often involve psychological and emotional factors. Things like worry, anxiety, stress. Basically, an overactive mind.
The racing thoughts keeping you awake.
Exactly. It's often linked to an overactive sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response, being stuck in the on position even when you're trying to rest.
But the book offers a valuable solution here, doesn't it? It mentions cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
CBTI is highlighted as a highly effective, first-line, non-pharmacological treatment approach for chronic insomnia. It helps address the thoughts and behaviors that perpetuate sleep problems.
So retraining your brain and habits around sleep.
In essence, yes. It's shown to be more effective long-term than medication for many people.
Okay, shifting gears slightly, what about lifestyle factors like exercise and diet? How do they fit in?
The book discusses the bidirectional relationship. Regular physical activity generally promotes better sleep quality.
Makes sense. You tire yourself out.
Right. And conversely, good sleep supports better exercise performance and recovery. However, going back to what we said earlier, it's generally advisable to avoid intense workouts in the 2-3 hours leading up to bedtime because of the body temperature effect.
Right. Timing matters. And diet.
In terms of diet, the primary recommendation seems to be pretty common sense. Avoid going to bed excessively hungry or overly full. Both can disrupt sleep.
Find that balance.
Yeah. The book also mentions, though perhaps less emphasized, that diets very high in simple carbohydrates, maybe in the range of 70% or more of your daily intake, might negatively impact sleep quality for some individuals. But the main focus is on avoiding extremes before bed.
Okay. So looking at strategies for actually improving sleep, what's the vision the book lays out?
It covers things on an individual level. For instance, it recommends potentially tracking your sleep patterns using some of the apps or wearable technology we mentioned earlier just to get objective data.
Understanding your own patterns.
Exactly. And also being really mindful of minimizing your exposure to blue-enriched artificial light in the evenings, using sleep-friendly light bulbs, enabling night shift settings on your electronic devices.
Making the environment less stimulating before bed.
Precisely. But what the book presents as perhaps the single most impactful sleep tip, the foundation upon which all other improvements can be built.
Yeah. What is it?
It's surprisingly straightforward. Strive to go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day.
Every day, including weekends.
Yes, as much as possible, weekends included. Consistency truly appears to be the cornerstone of healthy sleep. It anchors your circadian rhythm like nothing else.
That consistency point seems really crucial.
It becomes even more critical when we consider the strong links the book details between insufficient sleep and various serious health problems. We touched on cancer, but there's more.
Like heart disease.
Yes, significantly. The book details how chronic sleep deprivation elevates the risk of developing cardiovascular disease. Some studies indicate a 45% increase in the likelihood of developing or dying from it if you're routinely sleep deprived.
45% higher risk. Wow.
And even more alarmingly, studies on workers consistently sleeping less than 6 hours per night showed they had a 500% higher risk of experiencing cardiac arrest compared to those getting sufficient sleep.
500%.
It's often attributed to the sustained increase in blood pressure and heart rate that results from chronic sleep loss. Your cardiovascular system just doesn't get the break it needs.
And the impact on our immune system, too. You mentioned the cancer link earlier.
Yes, and it's quite dramatic. The book highlights research showing that just one night of getting only 4 hours of sleep can trigger a massive 70% reduction in the activity of our natural killer cells.
Natural killer cell. Those are the ones that fight infections and cancer, right?
Exactly. They're a crucial part of our immune surveillance. A 70% drop after just one bad night really shows how vulnerable we become.
That weakening of immune function helps explain the link the book discusses between insufficient sleep and that heightened risk of various types of cancer.
It does. It's got to the point where the World Health Organization has actually classified nighttime shift work as a probable carcinogen, largely due to the chronic disruption of the sleep-wake cycle it causes.
That's a pretty strong statement from the WHO.
It is.
And it's not just cancer and heart disease. Even our ability to regulate blood sugar can be negatively impacted by sleep loss, potentially pushing people towards a pre-diabetic state.
That's right. Sleep loss affects insulin sensitivity.
And it's fascinating that it's not just long-term sleep deprivation. Even small acute disruptions matter, like the 1-hour shift we experienced during daylight saving time.
Yeah, the spring forward.
The book mentions that loss of just 1 hour has been correlated with measurable increases in the incidence of heart attacks the following day.
It's quite incredible how sensitive our system is. That single hour makes a difference.
Let's revisit the crucial role of emotional regulation. We talked about the amygdala.
Yes, and the book really underscores that a lack of sleep destabilizes our emotional integrity, our resilience. Individuals who are sleep deprived tend to exhibit heightened emotional reactivity. They become more impulsive, more negative, sometimes more aggressive.
More irrational.
Yes, increased irrationality too.
Right.
Research has demonstrated that the amygdala, that emotional hotspot, becomes significantly more active when we're sleep deprived. That 60% increase we mentioned. So you get these amplified emotional responses.
Like overreacting to things.
Exactly. Amplified emotional responses coupled with reduced cognitive control from the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain, which is also impaired by sleep loss. So it's a double whammy. Bigger emotions, less control.
And this neurological state, as the book points out, bears striking similarities to the patterns observed in various psychiatric conditions.
It does. Which underscores the strong association the book draws between sleep disturbances and conditions such as depression, anxiety disorders, including PTSD, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, and tragically, even an increased risk of suicide. Sleep disruption is a major factor in mental health.
It seems like sleep is foundational for mental stability.
Absolutely.
The book also delves into the intricate connection between sleep and the aging process. How does sleep change as we get older?
Well, one of the key changes noted is that the quality and quantity of our deep sleep, that non-REM deep sleep, tends to decline significantly as we age.
Less deep sleep. Why does that matter?
Because that deep sleep is crucial for memory consolidation and brain restoration. This disruption in deep sleep appears to be closely intertwined with the cognitive and memory decline, often seen in both normal aging and, more severely, in neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's disease. There's a link between poor sleep and the buildup of amyloid plaques associated with Alzheimer's.
So could improving sleep help with aging or dementia?
That's the hope in an active area of research. Interestingly, the book mentions ongoing studies exploring the potential of things like direct current brain stimulation.
Stimulating the brain during sleep.
Yeah, very gently to try and amplify those crucial deep sleep brainwaves and potentially improve memory function in older adults and even individuals with dementia. It's early days, but promising.
Fascinating potential there. Shifting our focus to education, the book discusses something quite practical: school start times.
Yes, this is a really compelling section. It looks at the impact of intentionally delaying school start times, especially for adolescents whose natural sleep cycles shift later.
And the results are positive.
Remarkably so. Studies show significant increases in standardized test scores, like the SAT-1 study found a 200-plus point increase.
Wow.
Improvements in overall academic grades, reductions in behavioral issues and student absenteeism, truancy rates go down, and even a decrease in reported psychological and psychiatric problems among adolescents. Better mood, less depression.
So aligning school schedules with teenage biology has broad benefits.
Huge benefits. And perhaps one of the most striking findings the book highlights is the link between later school start times and a demonstrable increase in life expectancy among teenagers.
Increased life expectancy. How?
Primarily attributed to a significant reduction in some counties studied, as high as 70% in the number of car accidents involving young drivers.
Because they're less sleep deprived when driving to school.
Exactly. Fewer drowsy driving accidents. It's a direct public safety issue.
That's incredibly powerful evidence.
It really is.
And a fundamental point the book emphasizes, which we touched on with sleep debt, is the concept that you cannot fully recover from lost sleep. It's just gone.
Pretty much. The brain doesn't seem to operate on a sleep credit system in the same way our body manages energy stores with fat cells.
Yeah.
You can't bank sleep or fully repay chronic deprivation.
So that common pattern of chronically skimping on sleep during the week and then engaging in extended catch-up sleep on the weekends, that social jet lag,
Yeah, sleeping in for hours on Saturday and Sunday.
it's not an effective strategy for restoring optimal cognitive and physical function. You don't actually catch up.
The evidence suggests not fully. While it might feel a bit better, performance deficits often remain. Your brain function doesn't just snap back to 100% after a couple of long nights. The damage from the weekdays lingers. Again, consistency is better.
Okay, let's circle back quickly to sleep aids. We talked about pills, but what about melatonin specifically? People often take that.
Right. And the book reiterates that currently available sleeping medications don't produce natural sleep. They're sedative hypnotics. But melatonin is a bit different.
How so? Is it effective?
Melatonin is a natural hormone your body produces to signal darkness and regulate the timing of sleep. Think of it like the starting official in a race. It tells your brain when the race should begin.
Okay, it sets the timing.
But it doesn't actually participate in the race itself. It's not particularly effective at generating sleep if your brain isn't ready or if something else is keeping you awake.
So it helps with jet lag or shift work timing, maybe, but not necessarily insomnia itself.
That's generally the view. While there might be some placebo effect, its direct impact on generating sleep is limited compared to its role in timing the onset.
Good distinction. And finally, let's just reinforce the point about blue light from our devices.
Yes, it's pervasive. This type of light, especially prevalent in LEDs and screens, is very effective at suppressing the production of melatonin.
So it tricks your brain into thinking it's still daytime.
Essentially, yes. It delays the onset of sleepiness, pushes your internal clock later, and can negatively affect the overall quality of your sleep, particularly by disrupting the vital REM sleep stage later in the night.
So the advice is clear. Limit screen time before bed.
Definitely. Use blue light blocking glasses or software filters if you must use screens, and prioritize creating a dark, conducive sleep environment. It's about maximizing darkness at night while ensuring you get enough natural light during the day to keep that circadian rhythm strong.
That balance seems key. Darkness at night, light during the day. Well, we've covered a tremendous amount of ground in this deep dive, haven't we? Highlighting just how absolutely fundamental sleep is.
It really is. For virtually every facet of your well-being, spanning your physical health, the strength of your immune system, your cognitive abilities like learning and memory, your emotional regulation, even your personal safety on the road.
The compelling evidence presented in Why We Sleep powerfully underscores that sleep isn't some optional luxury to be sacrificed when we're busy,
Not at all.
but a fundamental biological necessity right up there with eating, drinking, and breathing. We sincerely hope this exploration has provided you with a much clearer understanding of its profound importance.
And hopefully some practical insights you can apply to your own life.
Absolutely. So reflecting on all this, what resonated most strongly with you from this information? Is there anything specific that stands out? Are there any aspects of your own sleep habits you're now perhaps reconsidering after diving into this?
It definitely makes you think twice about hitting snooze or staying up late scrolling.
For sure. And what further questions do you still have about the fascinating science of sleep? Because this is truly just the beginning of understanding this complex and vital field, isn't it?
Absolutely. There's still so much to learn. We strongly encourage everyone listening to delve deeper, maybe even read the book, and really consider how prioritizing sleep can pave the way for a more vibrant, healthy, and fulfilling life. It might be the single best thing you can do for your overall well-being.